Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rogue Guide Media. My name is Alex Schlerf, and today I'm going to be doing my review for the most recent Marvel television series, Ironheart. I almost said Echo for some reason. Ironheart. I just finished, obviously, last week the first three episodes dropped, and then Tuesday the next three dropped for the six episode season. And I finished all the episodes yesterday. I haven't publicly stated my thoughts at all outside, like close friends and stuff. So I'm very curious to talk about this. I have a lot of stuff to talk about and I'm going to be doing a spoiler and non-spoiler section as usual, starting with the non-spoilers, then going to spoilers later on. Obviously, for a big cameo that came later in the show is going to be most of that section, and then I'm going to try either at the end of non-spoilers or at the end of just the episode do my ranking, just not like analysis, but just my quick ranking of all the MCU TV shows to this point, because I added Ironheart into that list. So yeah, nothing else to say. Just get right into the non-spoilers. Like I said, all six episodes are streaming on Disney Plus right now, so it's a very quick watch. Go give your opinion. Maybe you won't have the same as me. And it does seem that I'm a little bit in the minority opinion on this show, and I didn't expect to be in that. I expected to enjoy this a little bit more than I wanted, or more than I did, and I wanted to enjoy it a little more than I did. But I just a lot of the show didn't work as much for me as it did for others. And the first thing I'll say is because I usually start with positives is that really the number one thing that I wanted going into Ironheart is to love Riri Williams, jeez, to love Riri Williams as a character more than I already did from Wakanda Forever and from comics and stuff like that. And it succeeded in that. It did succeed in the fact that Riri was, dude, I am just struggling to speak right now. Riri was great in this show and as the lead, and Dominique Thorne really does shine in this lead role. And I do think she was the best part of the show. And that, again, regardless if I didn't really enjoy the show overall, I do think alone, that her being as good as she was, leaves me satisfied, looking back in the show, because although I think the quality wasn't great overall, my number one thing, like I said, was to enjoy her and trust this and enjoy this character a lot and trust that she can return in future projects and for me to enjoy this character and be excited for her to show up more. And I got all that, especially with how the ending went. So yeah, she's great. Her performance is great. One of my weaknesses is kind of the supporting cast, but I will say that her dynamic with a couple of the characters is great. She's great with Natalie, played by Lyric Ross. She's great not towards the end of the show, but the first three episodes, her and what's the character's name? Zeke Stain. I guess that's like a spoiler, but not really. Her and him, and his name is Joe, I guess, in the beginning. They're great together as well. Great chemistry between those two. Especially her and Natalie, which, if you don't really know much about the show, you might not know this, but again, it's not really a spoiler, but Natalie is her AI that she kind of brings back to life as an AI accidentally after her best friend, who is at the real Natalie, got killed in I think it was drive-by shooting or something. But got killed when she was pretty young, or I guess it was recent, but still pretty young, too young. But I trying to remember how old she was when that happened because the scene was kind of a flashback. But anyway, doesn't matter when the AI comes back in and there's an interesting dynamic between the two, and once they kind of fully bond together, I think there's a lot of great emotion there, and I think both of them bounce off each other really well. And I think in general, Dominique really shines with everyone and kind of brings out the best with each actor that she comes across in the show. And like she's not the most notable actor in this show. She's not the most like, some would say she's not the most talented, but like she was by far the best part of the show for me, like her acting and her dynamic with a lot of these characters. Like I said, she brings out the best of other characters in the show, and I have a couple problems with her arc in this show, but that was nothing to do with her performance. That was really more with the writing, and I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, in general, like I was so impressed with her taking the lead role, and she is a true lead. Like the worry with this kind of show is like with a six episode show, it's an MCU show. It is a character that is not towards one of Marvel's, top brands. Like you had Hawkeye and Loki, like those are like top tier characters that people already beloved from the Marvel fans and just in general. But when you get to Ironheart, we've seen her one time in the Black Panther movie. So most people know her, but she didn't have a crazy amount to do in that movie. So like there's not really, besides some people who are fans of the comic character, not a lot of people would be like, oh, I'm dying to see an Ironheart led show. But and that was kind of obviously the discourse going into it. I'm not gonna get into that because it's just pointless. But that was I never really totally had that concern, but partly a little bit going into it, I was like, will she be able to lead her own show? And like I said, she was able to, and that was a very big positive out of the show. That's really my main positive. I'm trying to think of what other ones that I can give. Um, there's one big one that I can give in spoilers, so I'm gonna save that for a little bit. But I guess I'll just kind of bounce off back and forth about negatives and positives and see what I say. My main problem for this show is that, and most of all, I can just boil it down to saying that a lot of the aspects didn't work as well for me as it has for others. And again, that's more of a me thing. Like some of it I think is poor writing, and again, but it's my opinion. Like I said, I've been seeing online reactions for this, and a lot of people have really enjoyed it, and I'm glad to hear that. Like, I'm very happy to hear that. And with all the hate that came up in the lead up to the show, I'm glad that people are really enjoying it. But with Ironheart, the one thing is that although as much as I liked Riri's character, I thought that her arc was very messy, and I thought that I don't think they really handle it in the way that they should have. And I think part of it is the fact that this is a 6 episode show, and if they had had, 8, 10 episodes or multiple seasons, like they could have really worked out her arc. But she goes on this particular and specific arc, like through the first 3 episodes, and then through the last three, like especially starting at episode 4, she kind of like is at an all is lost moment and is like pushing people away and isn't sure what to do with her life and all that stuff. And like that stuff is good, and I was very curious to see where they would go from there. But it just kind of falls off in favor of other storylines that aren't relevant to her arc, specifically like the antagonist, not like the one in episode 6, but the antagonist of the Hood, kind of that stuff. You see more of that instead of like exploring her arc, and it feels like her arc is kind of just fast tracked to the end or kind of pushed aside at the end for cool action sequences or cool villain sequences or stuff like that, or like cool suit up scenes. And that stuff is great. That's another positive. Like the suit up scenes are great. I think a lot of the action scenes are great, especially that last action scene between the Hood and Riri. Like that scene is awesome. And just in general, like that stuff is really good, and it looks really good visually, which makes sense because they filmed this a while ago and they've had a lot of time to work in the visual effects. But like all that is great, but that can't be at the forefront compared to her arc. And I know that's what some people come for. Some people are coming to these projects, especially Marvel, for just an action spectacle or cool fight scenes, like all that. Like that stuff is great, but I wanted more exploration of her arc and I wanted more depth to her arc because I feel like they tried to give it a lot of depth, and I just think it fell flat towards the end. Again, they pushed it aside for other storylines, which I didn't like because, again, I went into the show wanting to full Riri Williams. Like, I know this is not what a lot of people went into the show for, and I know I'm in the minority there, but like, as a person who, as you guys know, is very excited for the next, generation of young heroes and young Avengers slash champions, and Riri could potentially be a member of that with that, I go into the show wanting to see her arc and seeing her grow and seeing Dominique really step into this role for a long period of time. And again, she's great, but I wish the writers would have given her a little bit more in terms of emotion towards the end. Like there's emotional moments, but it just didn't work for me totally. I think it like they just like felt out of place alongside this villain arc. And like especially in episode 5 and 6, there's like two things going on at once. It's like the stuff with the Hood and the stuff with Riri, and eventually it comes together. But for a long period of time, they're just disconnected and they have nothing to do with each other. And like episode 5 like ends with the Hood basically. Like it ends with like a huge sequence of the Hood confronting somebody from his past, and it just has nothing to do with Riri at all. Like literally nothing to do with it. Like I'm not saying you can't have the villain be like a main focus of the show or like one of the main characters, but it has to still be involved with Riri. And it does to start with her, needing a source for her tech and she's not Tony Stark. She doesn't have $1 billion. She needs help with, getting the energy for a suit and getting the right suit and getting the perfect one and all that and getting the right resources. But that works in the beginning. It wasn't like blowing me away in terms of a storyline, but like it worked in the beginning, and it kind of just fell off toward the end where it was just like, all right, these two characters hate each other now, and they're gonna do their own thing, but then they're gonna have this final battle, which is like 2 minutes long and is cool, but like is barely part of the finale. I thought the finale was very weak, and I'll get more into it in spoilers, but it just felt like another one of these Disney Plus shows, these 6 episode Disney Plus shows, and a couple have done it right. We had Loki, we had Hawkeye. Like I think those really worked. I think WandaVision was 8 episodes. I'm not counting that in this, but like we had shows that have utilized the 6 episode format correctly, but in this case, in Ironheart's case, it suffers from a similar thing to like the Moon Knight problem, where we get to the finale and all these things are converging on each other, but it just ends in a whimper. It doesn't end in a super interesting way. And a lot of it is also like they have a problem with episode 5 always being like the action-packed, crazy storylines coming together, and then episode 6 ends up being underwhelming. Like again, episode 6 is just not like amazing at all. Like there's a lot of really good scenes with Riri and the kind of twist villain that comes on in the end. Again, I'll talk about that in spoilers, but like besides from that, the episode itself is just like I just felt like it was a weird end to the show. And again, like it really pushed aside the emotional arc that Riri was going on from episodes 1 to 4, maybe just episodes 1 to 3. I just really wasn't impressed with the next 3 episodes. I wasn't really impressed in general, but I wasn't really impressed with the 4, 5, and 6, besides from a couple things that weren't related to Riri's arc, which is the most important thing. And again, I feel like for those last 3 episodes, they just kind of said, you know what, we're gonna focus on this magic versus tech thing and do that instead of like caring at all about like the emotional weight of Riri's arc that she was going on in the beginning of the show and especially at the end of episode 3. I just didn't like that, and that really didn't work for me. And I just don't. It felt like she was sidelined in her own show towards the end. And again, she is a capable lead, so I don't know why they didn't just give her more to do, especially emotionally towards the end. Like she has the chops for it. She can do it. And Dominique Thorne can do it. And I just feel like they wasted that arc that she was going on a little bit. And it gets to the point where like looking back on the show and just analyzing it as like a 6 episode show and the whole thing, I don't know what her arc was. I really don't know what they were going for with her arc. I know I'm using buzzwords right now. I apologize for that, but that's the only way I can describe it without like getting into huge spoilers. It's like they were trying to explore first off starting off with like again, she doesn't have the resources and she feels counted out. She's not Tony Stark, so she doesn't have all those resources. And then she's dealing with her past trauma that she's pushing aside with Natalie and like a lot of her family members she's pushing to the side. And that kind of all comes to a head in episode 3 with that heist scene that kind of goes wrong. And that's all great. Like I wasn't blown away by the first 3 episodes, but like that was solid. Like that was my favorite part of it, is seeing her go on that journey. And then episode 4, 5, and 6, they're just like, you know what? Forget about that. She's just gonna get magic and cool. Now she's gonna use magic to fight magic. Like I just don't. The magic versus tech angle is a cool concept, and I think it like I don't know if it makes sense for the show, but like I think it's a cool concept, and especially when you bring the hood in, and I'm sure that's why they did it. But like I just don't think it was the best way to move her arc forward. I just don't think in terms of her journey throughout the series, bringing in that it just like this huge magic, especially episode 4, 5, and 6, it is a huge introduction to magic, where the first 3 episodes is not really magic at all. And besides from the hood stuff, which is kind of very like vague. 4, 5, and 6 is a huge focus in magic for a couple characters that come in, for Riri getting magic in her suit, for the character that comes in, like all this stuff, like that cameo character that I'm talking about, like all this stuff comes to a head in those final 4 episodes. All that stuff comes in these final 4 episodes, but it wasn't really at all in episode 1 through 3. And I just don't think that magic versus tech was this natural thing to tell in this show specifically. It's cool, and there's a lot of cool scenes with it, but I just don't think it worked the best. I don't think it works the best for Riri herself and her character journey in this show. And that's my thing. So that's kind of the overall problem I have with this show, is that I wanted more out of her arc specifically. And again, I don't think that overall theme of magic versus tech really worked as much for me. And another negative is that the Hood is a character that I'm not going to say I've read every single comic he's had, but specifically from the Dark Reign comic run, for those who know that, I really fell in love with the character of the Hood and I really enjoyed him. And I was very excited to see him portrayed in the big screen. And there's occasional good moments here, but I personally just think Anthony Ramos was a miscast. I have nothing against the guy, and in interviews he seems super cool, and he's been very defensive of the show and Dominique, which I really respect, and all of that. Like I'm good for him for getting this opportunity, and he hasn't been in a lot yet so far in his career. I guess he's been in a couple of franchise stuff, but anyway, I don't have anything against the guy, but I just don't think he was the right cast for the Hood. Um, some weird line delivery at points that didn't really, and also like this is partly me like saying that it's not as faithful to the comic character, but it's like 50% that and 50% just I didn't like the way they went about him in the show, like just in general. Like put aside, pretend I've never read a comic The Hood before and I'm seeing this character for the first time. Excuse me. Besides from the design itself, like the bending bullets and the hood itself, like all of that was good. Besides from that, his actual portrayal and like acting out of the Hood and Parker Robbins, I just think it was a miscast. And I hate to say that. I do not say that a lot about characters. Like again, I am a comics guy, but I usually am open to seeing new adaptations and stuff. This doesn't feel like it's trying to be a new adaptation. It feels like it's just a a bad version of that Parker Robbins character, of that Hood character from the comics. And I just that really bugged me, or that really bummed me out because that was one of the things I was really looking forward to the show as well, because I do love that character and I really fell in love with him with that Dark Reign run, which is one of the first comic runs I read. When did that come out? Maybe I'm tripping about that. But anyway, one of my favorite comic runs, and one of the runs that I really got me into fully enjoying comics, and the Hood was one of the reasons for that. And I don't know. I just didn't. I don't think he was the right person for Parker Robbins. I don't want to go too much into this because I'm just not going to hate on somebody and after I've praised Dominique and all that. But yeah, I was disappointed with that aspect, and obviously that's a big concern. If the main villain doesn't work, then the show isn't going to work overall, and that's how it was for me. Again, like there is some cool aspects to it, and I specifically think that episode 6 fight, even though it was way too short, I do think there's some really cool stuff there, like with him and his face kind of turning more evil and all that. Like that was really cool, and I really liked that and that design. But unfortunately, it doesn't really speak to Ramos's performance at all. It's more about like the effects and the fight choreography. But yeah, Anthony Ramos, it seems like a good guy. I just don't think he was the right guy for this. And again, a lot of weird line delivery. I don't think they handled his relationship with his I think it was his cousin, the character named John. Don't think they handled his relationship in the best way with him, and I didn't really get any emotional connection there like they really wanted me to. And yeah, I guess we're not really counting Anthony Ramos as a supporting character, but like besides from him, the supporting cast, I'll say this. Like outside Riri, like every character on the board here except for Riri, like outside of her, I think that Natalie was great, like really great. Loved her. I thought Zelma was great. Zelma came in later in the show for the last couple episodes, and she's a character, another comic character that I've really enjoyed recently in the Strange Academy runs and the Doom Academy runs more recently because of what's going on in the comics right now with Doom kind of taking over the world or whatever. It's as simple as that. I really liked her in that stuff. I was really excited to see her adapted and see how big of a role he had or she had. But I was thinking going into it, like she'll probably have like a cameo in one episode and kind of help her out and then never show up again. But like she was a really main player in these last couple episodes, and obviously with the way it ended, like they're clearly teasing her potentially appearing in more projects. And she was great. Like that's another character in the supporting cast that I really liked. Again, I liked Alden Eldenrich, I think that's the actor's name. I liked him in the first 3 episodes, and then when he got like that new look and like all that and was like going against Riri, like it was so messy. Like I just that kind of turn, that kind of twist and villain turn, I hated it. I just didn't like that at all. It didn't work for me at all. So first 3 episodes he was great. Next three wasn't as great. And then besides on that, I just really didn't connect with any of the rest of the supporting cast. I guess that's not the right word, like not connect, but like I just didn't really enjoy the rest of the supporting cast. Like Parker's crew, like that I think there was like 4 or 5 in his crew. None of them are really given enough to really make me care about them, to be honest. Like when they go in these heists and stuff. That's another thing. The heist scenes weren't great to me either, which really hurt the first 3 episodes. I didn't think they were very creative, not really interesting, not very tense. The one at the end of episode 3 is solid, but not great, or not even good, really. So like I just don't know. But yeah, his crew, Parker's crew, none of them really stood out to me as anything. And again, it's nothing against the performances or anything. I just didn't, they didn't do anything to stand out. So like, besides from Riri, um, I'm not counting like the surprise cameo. Besides from Riri, Natalie, and Zelma, I'm trying to think, am I forgetting anybody else? Like besides from those three, I don't think anybody did enough in the supporting cast to really get me like super into them and be like, oh, I love the supporting cast. And like that is a big thing for these series. And again, Riri was great, and that's the most important thing. But like that doesn't mean that she doesn't need a great supporting cast. And not only was Anthony Ramos as the Hood disappointing to me, the rest of the supporting cast was too, outside of Natalie and Zelma, who doesn't even show up the last 3 episodes. And Natalie is like kind of an off and on role because of her nature as an AI, obviously. So yeah, and I wanted more out of Alden Eldenrich. I hope I'm saying that right. I wanted more out of his character because I really liked what they were doing with him in the first 3 episodes, and the kind of Ezekiel Stain twist is kind of interesting as well. But like Parker getting to him and that infusing the tech into like that just was so I don't know, it just was stupid to be honest. I'm gonna be honest, like I thought it was stupid. I didn't find any interest in that. I liked it a lot more when he was kind of this like is shady, is he an antagonist, is he a hero, is he working with Riri, or is he working with somebody else? Like I found that much more interesting in the first 3 episodes, but head back to the last three. And it's interesting because I watched the first 3 episodes, and again, first 3 episodes were last week, second three were this week, and I watched the first 3 episodes and I felt the same. Like I felt disappointed. I felt underwhelmed. I didn't enjoy it as much. I didn't enjoy a lot of the things that I've said on this, but I did think that going into episode 4, 5, and 6 that I would enjoy it more, and I thought the final three would be better than the first three. And I think they're pretty similar, honestly. Like I think a lot of them, both of them do things that I didn't really enjoy, and it kind of continues some things I didn't enjoy, and then kind of gets rid of things that I did enjoy, like Riri's arc. So at the end of the day, like it was interesting because I was like, 4, 5, and 6, I think I'm gonna enjoy more, but it was kind of the same. Aside from that really cool stuff from the mystery character in episode 6. So yeah, like this show, it has a great protagonist, as much as the writing might not have been great. It has a great protagonist, has a couple good supporting characters. It introduces some interesting concepts and themes, but at the end of the day, and I'm kind of just wrapping up the non-spoiler section here. Like at the end of the day, I just think it's more of a forgettable MCU show. I don't think it gets into that top tier or even close to that kind of WandaVision, Hawkeye tier. Definitely not that. I don't even know if it reaches kind of the heights of the mid-tier MCU shows. And I understand, excuse me, I understand why people liked this, and I really do. And I'm not saying that any of these positives that people have been saying, besides from like a couple like specific things, I'm not saying that any of these positives people have been saying online are wrong. A lot of them just didn't work for me as well as it did for others, and I don't see how this stood out as anything more than just a mediocre MCU show. That's just it didn't do anything crazy special to me to have it stand out in any way to where I'm just not gonna in a couple months I'm just gonna forget I even watched it. Like that's just how it is. And I'm a Marvel fan, so that probably won't happen specifically, but like if I wasn't, that's how it would be. And again, like I'm not one of these haters on this show. Like I was going into it, I was super excited. Ryan Coogler attached, obviously. Again, I was excited to see Ironheart again. I was excited to see the Hood, excited to see that mystery character that showed in episode 6, because I got that spoiled before, because that was leaked years ago. And all of that, like I was really looking forward to the show, and I just left disappointed. It didn't work for me as much as I wanted it to. And again, I really wanted to love the show. Like I really wanted to go into this and like it as much as everyone else did, but I have to be honest, I didn't enjoy this as much as others did. So again, Ironheart for me, I'm not gonna give this a rating by the way, because it's a 6 episode TV show. I don't know. But to wrap that up, like I am glad that the MCU seems to be moving away from these 6 episode event shows, and I think they've learned from that. And again, it did work at times. Everyone knows me, I love Hawk. I think it's amazing, and it adapts one of my favorite comic storylines of all times. That's how it's going to be. But it worked at times, and I got the concept when they introduced it, but we need longer shows, man. We need those Daredevil seasons to be pumped out every year, 8, 10 episodes. We need Vision Quest. I think it's 8 episodes. Like, give me all that. Give me Champions, 8, 10 episodes. Like, give me all that. Give me recurring shows. It doesn't have to all be recurring. Like, you can still do interesting original concepts like Ironheart or like Echo or like Moon Knight or like Hawkeye, stuff like that. You can still do that kind of stuff and introduce new characters. Hawkeye not in that case, unless you're counting Kate as the lead, which she's not. But anyway, you can still do that, but stop with the 6 episodes, man. And I hate to say that because it's kind of like a cliche thing that a lot of Marvel fans say these days, and I don't like I haven't always totally been there on that opinion, but and like someone could put a script on Kevin Feige's desk that is just like the greatest 6 episode show ever, and like I'm not saying that can't happen. If it does, go ahead, but really they need to focus on longer shows right now, because I think that one of the reasons the show didn't work as well for me is because of the crunched together format and the idea that they had to get so many storylines in one show in 6 episodes of and basically 6 hours of content, even a little bit less than that. And that really hurt it towards the end because it again went to a rushed finale that was just disappointing to me. So yeah, and like introducing a twist villain like they have done in so many of their shows at this point. So I don't know. That's how it is for me in Ironheart. Before I get into spoilers, it's like it just didn't really work for me too much. I just don't think it's great. I don't think it's horrible. It doesn't reach the Secret Invasion level or like the What If season 3 level for me. It does not reach that. I'll tell you that. But it enters into kind of the forgettable tier with a show like Echo that was a similar drop of like almost all at once. And Echo is a similar way for me. Like I love Maya Lopez and I love that character. And I love Alok Wakata's portrayal of the character. Like that was my favorite part of that show. But they're actually very similar, interesting enough. And I think Ironheart is better, and I'll get to my rankings, but in a second. But it's very similar in the sense where like I love the protagonist and I love the way the actor portrayed her on screen, but the supporting cast is weak, and I didn't really like what they did with her arc. Like it's very similar to Echo and Ironheart. It's actually interesting that it kind of worked out this way. But yeah, To me, Ironheart is kind of forgettable, and I didn't really enjoy it too much, and I wanted to enjoy it a lot more than I did. But yeah, I don't think I have anything else to really add to that. That's kind of all my thoughts before I get into spoilers. So yeah, if you haven't seen Ironheart, and by the way, even when I say this, like even though I say I don't, eh, even though okay, even though I was gonna say even if I don't, even if I say I didn't like the show, I'd recommend it. I don't know if that's true. Like I don't know. What I'd say about Ironheart is I'd watch the trailer and I would read some of the reviews that are non-spoilers like this and like hear what I have to say about it. Now that you've heard what I have to say about it, and think about would does this sound like a show that you would like? And if it does, watch it. If it doesn't, maybe you can just skip it. But if you love Riri as a character, like definitely watch this. Like if you enjoyed her as a character in Wakanda Forever, or if you read her comics before and you like her comics, like definitely watch this because that is a good part out of it. Is that again, if I look back on this, I will be happy with the fact that I did enjoy her just as a character. Maybe not her characterization as much, but I liked her as a character, so that's good. So yeah, like in terms of recommendation, like if you're a Marvel fan, I always say watch everything because if you're a fan, get to everything. It's one of those things where like Ironheart is 6 episodes. Like man, like if you have free time this 4th of July weekend, throw on the first episode. If you don't like it, turn it off. If you do, keep watching. That's how it is. And again, I am in the minority here. Like I know that it's got a good score on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got a good score from critics. A lot of the critics are reacting well to this, and putting aside like the racist people and all that, a lot of people are reacting very well to the show. And again, the few people that I've talked to about this, they have enjoyed it. So I think I'm in the minority. So maybe go see it, and you'll like it a lot more than me, and you'll go in the comments and tell me why I'm wrong. That's why we do this. It's my opinion, not true, not fact. I mean, and yeah. So going into spoilers again, if you haven't seen this show, click off right now, and I will see you back here when you watch the show, giving you time to click off. All right. So spoilers. Mephisto. Mephisto finally came to the MCU. This is not the only thing I'm going to talk about in the spoiler section, but it obviously is the big thing. Like I said, going into the show, I did know that he was going to appear because it was a huge leak, and I'm kind of involved. I kind of read some of those leaks, not like huge plot leaks or anything like that, but in terms of like, it was very clear that Mephisto was going to appear in the show and Sacha Baron Cohen was going to be portraying him. We knew that going into this, and that was one of my big intrigues kind of watching the final 3 episodes because I didn't enjoy, obviously, I said the first 3 episodes, but I was very excited to see how they would kind of bring Mephisto into the MCU for this final episode. And I will say, everything with him was great. I thought Sasha's portrayal of Mephisto was amazing. And we only saw him in human form, obviously, which kind of makes sense in a way because you don't want to go full out devil form, VFX, and all that for a 6 episode MCU show that probably won't have as high viewership as they really want it to. So it does make sense. We got that little shot of if you might have missed this watching it, so go rewind it if you didn't see this, but we got that shot of him stirring like the whatever he had, water, tea, whatever it was, and in the reflection you see like his face, little devil face. So we got a little quick look at it, but mostly in human form. But even with the human form stuff, like he was great. I really liked his portrayal, and that's what I imagined a human Mephisto in live action to be. Like this like creepy guy who like speaks in weird riddles and is sketchy as heck and is like making weird deals. Like I this is the way I imagined him completely, and I think his scenes, specifically with Riri towards the end, are great, and I really enjoyed their dynamic. And again, Dominique is just great with everyone in the show. The stuff with the Hood is a little less interesting, as again, I didn't really enjoy Ramos' acting in the show. But yeah, I thought that I liked it. I liked his portrayal. And people were getting mad because they didn't show the full look and all that, and it wasn't this huge like conflict between her and Riri. But like, come on, this is Ironheart. We're not gonna have the full Mephisto thing. We will see him again. We will see him in devil form. Maybe for a Midnight Suns thing. People have been excuse me. People on Twitter have been theorizing that he could be the villain of the Champion show now if Riri is involved with that. I haven't totally got there in that theory yet, but maybe I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, just to say, I thought Mephisto's portrayal was great. I'm glad we finally got him in live action. Like he is one of those top tier Marvel villains, and if you don't read the comics, you probably won't feel that way. But like, if they make it where he appears a lot, like he is on that like Ultron level of like one of their top tier villains. Like I didn't say like Thanos or Doom or anything because those are like on their own tier, but like he is one of their top tier villains. I will say that, and I do hope we see a lot more of him in the future. And again, I thought Sacha Baron. I've really only seen Sacha Baron Cohen in the Borat movie, so I had no idea what to expect for his performance. But I did really enjoy it. And I thought he portrayed him in a very interesting way. And I do kind of wish, and I know why they didn't do it, but I do wish that we saw him throughout the show. Like if we saw him like every episode doing these deals kind of around the city and seeing his dynamic with Parker early on, like I would have enjoyed that more and seeing more of him. But like I know that's part of the intrigue is like they have this twist villain at the end and people have to watch the whole thing for it. I understand that. I totally get that, but it's kind of just like a marketing thing, and I get it. But I wish we would have seen him in more of the show. I wish we would have seen more of him in general because he was great. But yeah, it really sets up an interesting thing towards the end of him and Riri makes a deal with him. And literally the last shot of the show, not counting the post-credit scene, is like the little veins coming up in her arm, the same stuff that was coming up in Parker's face during the show when he had the hood. Um, yeah, I think that that's a really interesting avenue they're taking, and it's like that is not how I expected the show to end at all. Like her making a deal with Mephisto, like that is not what I would have expected for how the show is to end. It's kind of the part of the problem with it as well. But it is a cool, interesting plot line. And like I said, I have assumed for a while that Riri will be in Doomsday, just because like first off, Robert Downey Jr. has been gushing about her on press tours, and like Ryan Coogler, or was it Coogler? Maybe somebody on like the premiere date gave an answer about how she could fit into Doomsday, and they said, "Oh, we're introducing this interesting part of magic." And I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but they were like, "Oh, we're introducing this interesting concept of magic and tech fused together," and that is obviously something that could come into play against somebody like Doctor Doom, who has that exact skill set, magic and tech combined. So like, I'm like that's gotta mean that she's in Doomsday. And um but like past that, obviously it's been heavily rumored that she'll be in the rumored champion show. I say rumored, but like that show is happening. It has a showrunner. We don't know when, but it's happening. It's been rumored by everybody and it has a showrunner and we have the whole cast. Like it is happening. But that champion show that is coming, sorry about the lighting. Like this room, the lights just there we go. The lights just automatically turn off for some reason. But anyway, we know that that rumored champion show is probably happening, and in the next couple of years, and it'll be interesting to see if they want to follow up on this kind of Mephisto storyline for champions. And like I said, it's been a theory that people have had that maybe Mephisto would be the main villain of champions, which I don't know if I can totally get there because I think with the story that I can kind of format in my head of what they want to tell, and again, that's hard to say because it's so far out. We don't know anything about it besides from the fact that they have a writer. I actually don't know if it's showrunner. I said showrunner. I meant writer. They have a writer attached, and that's really it. Besides from like a rumored cast, but we don't really know a lot this far out, but with how I'm kind of thinking of how they might go with the show and kind of it being the launching off point of this team in the MCU, especially probably post Secret Wars, I don't know about Mephisto being the villain. Like, it just feels like it doesn't totally fit. But I probably would have said the same thing if you told me Mephisto and the Hood would have been villains of the Ironheart series. So, like, maybe I'm just, being silly there. But it does bring something interesting. Is the next time we see Ruby on screen, will she be with these young heroes and they start to see that something is off with her and all that? Because, like, I can say this for almost certain that in Doomsday, because you can't really do Doomsday without Miss Marvel. Like she kind of has to be in it because of the Monica storyline that they're clearly exploring. Because Kelsey Grammer's Beast is returning, so like Monica being stuck in that universe, the end of the Marvels, that's clearly being explored. So both Kamala and Carol's arc will probably be trying to get her back from that universe, and that's how this kind of Avengers X-Men thing might come into play. But my point is like that would mean that Miss Marvel has to be in this. Like, really guaranteed has to be in Doomsday. It wouldn't make sense to ignore her. And if she's in Doomsday, that would mean that most likely Kate Bishop and Cassie Lang will probably have to be with her as well, just because they've literally shown on screen the last time Miss Marvel appeared was her recruiting those two. So it'd be weird if like all of a sudden they're not together. Like it just would be weird. So I think at least those three have to be in this movie. And then you've got like this Ironheart thing now, and you've got Billy and Tommy potentially being in Vision Quest, which comes out before Doomsday. Like there's a very good chance that a lot of these young heroes are in this movie, this Avengers movie, and that Riri will be one of them. Or maybe she'll be off doing something else. Maybe she'll find another team to go with. Maybe they'll kind of leave her out because she's kind of just not involved with this kind of deal she's done literally with the devil. But it was really interesting to see it end that way, and I'm very, very curious to see where they go with it, whether it goes into a Doomsday project, or whether it goes into Doomsday, whether it goes into Secret Wars, whether it goes into a Champions project, whether it even goes to a Midnight Suns project, which has been rumored. Like any of that stuff is on the table, and that's cool. And again, if I were to guess, Riri will be in Doomsday, and that's kind of what's going to be next with her. And the movie is so jam-packed that we probably won't have a lot of time to deal with the fact that Riri made a deal with the devil to resurrect her dead friend. Like that's obviously not really going to be like a thing they'll have time for, but maybe like slight teases to it that could set up, in one of those shows. They can go into more depth about it. Maybe that's what we'll see. But again, obviously they will explore it in Champions, but I don't know if Mephisto being the main villain of Champions will happen. But it would be a good thing where like that team obviously isn't as marketable for from the average group of heroes. So maybe bringing in a big name villain like Mephisto that people want to see in his full form, maybe that would help the show because I think it did help Ironheart out. I don't know what the viewership is, but I think him being introduced in the show did help the will help the viewership in the long run. But who knows? But that's kind of my guess. So maybe that would work. But anyway, that was kind of the big spoiler thing is Mephisto finally appearing. Um, everyone who's been theorizing for the past 5 years about him appearing in the MCU, we finally got it, and I think we're gonna get a lot more of him as well. So really enjoyed that performance there from Sacha Baron Cohen. Um, the other spoiler thing is obviously with the ending, with the post-credit scene with Zelma and Parker Robbins, the Hood, who's obviously no longer the Hood, he lost it. Mephisto took it away from him. Or I guess Riri took it off him actually. But anyway, that is the other thing. And it's really interesting because we've heard rumors for a while about a potential Strange Academy show being in development, and Zelma is one of the main characters of that ensemble in the comics. We would suspect that she'd be in it. But I was kind of like skeptical that would ever happen with Marvel kind of decreasing their output. And again, I wasn't sure if Zelma would have this huge role in the show, and I definitely didn't think they were going to set her up for like literally actively teasing her for a future project. But they did, and that's kind of what they did with the post-credit scene. And yeah, I think this really confirms that like Strange Academy is going to happen. I don't know when, probably not until after Secret Wars and all that. That's kind of the case with a lot of these projects, just with the Battle World multiverse kind of thing, which taking place between Doomsday and Secret Wars is going to be kind of challenging with how we suspect Doomsday to end. I'm not going to spoil that for those who haven't read the comic, but yeah, I really didn't expect them to basically confirm that Strange Academy will probably be happening at some point. Because if they, if between when they film this and when, um, if between when they filmed this and when it came out, they decided that the Strange Academy show was kind of just going to be on pause or just canceled, they would have cut this post credit scene out. Like they could have cut this out, filmed the gag scene. They could have had no post credit scene. Like they could have done that, but they clearly left it in because they have plans for this character in the future, and they clearly left in all the Mephisto stuff because they have plans for her. For his deal with Riri, like they have plans for all this stuff, and the Hood obviously they have plans for him in the future as well. So that's really exciting. I was really excited about because again, I love Zelma in the show, and the actor. I'm gonna look up the actor who portrays her because I don't want to. Who plays Zelma Stan? Um, it is Reagan Aaliyah. I hope I'm saying that right. She was great, like so great for Zelma. She perfectly portrays the comic book character. Really enjoyed her portrayal. And yeah, I'm really excited to see her play this character in more projects. And obviously, specifically, we're expecting it to be a Strange Academy project. So yeah, that was cool to see that tease. I mean, like I said, I wasn't too jazzed about the portrayal of the Hood in the show, but still, like I like the character, and like maybe who knows? Maybe in another project he appears, he could just get better writing, or Ramos could just deliver his lines better. I don't know, but I don't mean to like laugh about that, but like it just I want to be honest, but like maybe he appears again and he does better in that role, but still it's exciting to see the character again because I do like the character and the design is great, like the hood, the bending bullets, all that super comic accurate, love it, looked great, and would look even better, like a film format, which Strange Academy wouldn't be expected to. But anyway. I'm excited to see that potentially setting up Strange Academy. And yeah, I don't know what other stuff they really set up with this. Um, I guess the Zeke Stain character could show up again at some point. I feel like that the only avenue for that to happen is really in like in an Ironheart season two. But although the actor is kind of in demand enough right now, where like they could want to bring him back because of his status as like a higher tier actor compared to like some of the other supporting cast in the show, even like the actor for Zelma. But like maybe like people have been saying Armor Wars. Like I think Armor Wars is cooked. I don't. I've said it. I said it in my Slate video that I did, or my video that I did about the unannounced MCU dates. Like I don't think Armor Wars is happening. I think it's been blended into another project. So hey, maybe if that storyline is blended into another project, maybe he'll appear. And he was supposed to appear in Armor Wars, but maybe he was supposed to appear in Armor Wars, but now he's going to appear in something else. I don't know. I don't think we ever see that character again, but maybe we would be proven wrong. I don't know. But yeah, that was really the Mephisto thing, and the Zelma thing was really the big thing for spoilers. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think let me just finish this off with giving my ranking for all the MCU shows so far. And by the way, I'm not counting the Defenders shows in this because when they were made, they were not intended to be a part of the MCU, although they are now and they are canon to the MCU. They are not MCU shows because they weren't made under that Marvel Television banner. Like they have not. These are just all the shows that have been made from 2021 when, or kind of the post Endgame shows, all of that stuff. That's all this is. So like Jessica Jones, Daredevil, not Born Again will be on here, but like Jessica Jones, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Punisher, they won't be on here. Just and Defenders, they it won't be on here. So here's my ranking of the 18 MCU shows so far. So I'm not gonna go again. I'm not gonna do an analysis right now because I just don't have time to. But I will show you where Ironheart is, obviously. So number one, I have X-Men '97 season one. Number two, I have Loki season two. Number three, I have Loki season one. Number four, I have Hawkeye. Number five, I have WandaVision. Number six, I have Daredevil Born Again season one. Number seven, I have Moon Knight. Number eight, I have Agatha All Along. Number nine, I have Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man season one. Number 10, I have Miss Marvel. Number 11, I have Falcon and Winter Soldier. Number 12, I have She-Hulk. Number 13, I have What If Season 1. And then at 14 is Ironheart. And then rounding out the bottom is number 15, What If Season 2. Number 16 is Echo. Number 17 is What If Season 3. And last, number 18 is Secret Invasion. Less said about that, the better. Maybe I'll rant about that someday. But anyway, so Ironheart ranks 14th out of my 18 MCU shows, and I really do hate to rank it that low because I really did have high hopes for the show, but I just didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to, like I've said. So yeah, just becomes one of the more forgettable MCU shows, sadly, and I don't think we'll be getting a season two of this. Partly because of viewership and the fact that like this did seem like more of a contained story. I don't really think, although there were a lot of teases for future things, I feel like a lot of those were going to be followed up in future projects that are not Ironheart. But you never know. I think Marvel has a deal with Coogler to develop MCU projects, and obviously he's going to be doing Black Panther 3 soon. But maybe Coogler decides, you know what? I want to do an Ironheart season two, and they'd probably say yes. So we'll see about that. Maybe the viewership and will be higher, and obviously, like I said, the reviews have been pretty good so far, like 80 to 85% Rotten Tomatoes, I think. So that's pretty good for an MCU show. Critics are usually pretty harsh in these MCU shows, so that's pretty good. So yeah, I don't think we're getting Ironheart season two, but let's just say Ironheart season one for right now. I was disappointed. That's the bottom line. Ranks at 14th out of the 18 MCU shows to this point. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I wanted to get this review done before the holiday weekend because I'm going away and going to not worry about this, and that's why I finished it now. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you have more thoughts about Ironheart and you disagree with what I said, comments, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, hit me up. I respond as quickly as possible. Love debating with people about this stuff. And again, you probably liked it more than me. Maybe you liked it less than me. Maybe you liked the same as me. Great. Love opinions. Love chatting with people on the internet about this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's my review for Ironheart. I will be back here, obviously next week. I'm not sure what I will be back here for. You know what? It might be the Superman review. That might be the next time I talk in here. That's. I just got chills. That's crazy. It's crazy. It's so soon. I just bought my tickets like right before I record this too. It's crazy how soon it is. So yeah, that Superman review might be my next review actually. Which would be either Friday or Saturday. But if there is some MCU breaking news, obviously, or Marvel breaking news, or film breaking news in the next week before that, I'll be back on here for emergency episode, and I'll probably have an article or two out. I'm seeing Jurassic World like right after I record this, Jurassic World Rebirth. I mean, so if I have time, and the next day or two is going to be crazy, but if I have time, I will write a review for that as well. And do we have anything else coming out next week? Probably everyone's trying to avoid Superman. Excuse me, let's just see. I'm checking my list right now. Um, yeah, there's nothing else really of note. And in terms of TV shows, I guess I should look as well. Um, I haven't seen Squid Game, and I don't think I'm gonna review that. I'm gonna see it. I just don't think I'm gonna review it. Yeah, so I think for sure the next two things you will get from me is I can guarantee you Superman review next week, and that might be the next time you hear from me on podcast form or in video form, and hopefully a Jurassic World Rebirth review. But if not, I'll try to get an article out next week about something, TV, movie, whatever, opinion, whatever. But yeah, Superman review will probably be the next time you hear me, and I'm very excited to review that because this has obviously been anticipated for a while for a lot of people, and I really hope I like it because I love James Gunn. So yeah, anyway, that's my Ironheart review. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later.